Hey TV fans, Bored Now back with you. On this video I'm going to be talking about Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3 Episode 5. The episode is called Through the Lens of Time. Full spoilers from the start of this review as always. And we reached the midway point of the third season. And if you heard my review from last week, you know I wasn't so keen on the last one. It just didn't hit me. This was much more my jam. And I would say after some concerning signs early on in the episode, it really settled down and I really liked this one. I think it might be my second favourite of the season after the opening episode. So the setup is then they continued the centenary of the Federation, and as part of that, Nurse Chapel and Roger have set up this expedition to another planet where they're going to dig up some artifacts, see what's beneath there. So you get a whole crew who go down, including Gambon, who's doing his first mission, and so he's like a young ensign who's been on the Enterprise for just a few months now. He's been trained by Mbenga because he's basically been Chapel's replacement while she's been away. Each of them dig up what is revealed to be like a tomb, an ancient tomb, and they're not quite sure what lies within. And a big part of the episode is them going inside, exploring, and the dangers that lay in wait there, and exactly what these beings are and what their intentions are. There's more drama between Chapel and Spock. We're coming off the heels of him and La'an kissing at the end of the last episode. What's interesting is when Chapel talks to La'an about it, she says that they're just relaxing, they're almost just kicking back and having a fun, almost like they're hanging out and having fun without it being like a serious relationship. But Chapel's trying to gauge the situation and how Spock is feeling because of how awkward the whole Roger business is. And because initially Spock is supposed to go down with them on the mission, and then he says he's not going, he pulls out, and then you kind of get, because of a plot thing, he ends up coming down. And that's one thing right there, is that there are some big coincidences in the episode. It's probably, if I have one complaint, it may be that, because when they find out that what they're unearthing is this massive tomb, and that they probably need some help, because Chapel has one of the best lines of the episode, which is a Jaws callback. We're going to need a bigger landing crew or away team, whatever she said. And it's pretty convenient that La'an and Spock are the two who come down to help. So you've kind of got all this with Roger and Spock being a bit competitive with each other. At one point, it's kind of like a pair off, almost like Chapel and Roger opposing Spock and La'an, because a big thing in the episode is that Christine and Roger are very much thinking about this research is important, it's all about the discoveries, and we've got to make sure we leave here with the research, because at the end of the episode, or near the end, when they make their escape, but they have to leave the research behind, you can tell that Roger is quite devastated about it. But you've got that at loggerheads with Spock and La'an, who are very much more cautious, and it's like, well, if we don't need to go in, or we don't need to put ourselves in threat, then let's not do it. The appearance of Ortega's brother, and he's there because back in the episode we first saw him in, he was filming stuff for like a documentary, so once again, this fits into that. So he's gone down Uhura is there once again because, as set up in that episode, there is a little bit of a vibe between them, and that was something I was a bit worried about. That's like, okay, do we really need a romance between these two? So I think on paper I was a bit worried that they were going to go too heavy with like the relationship drama and all the dynamics. And it's a credit to the show and the writing, then they don't actually, like, because you get one or two small moments, but then they don't really take over the episode as much as I was worried about. And I think it's something this show does really well, where it focuses on the set gimmick of the episode and the set kind of mission. And because I think some Star Trek shows in the past with certain episodes have been guilty of, you'll have a certain situation and it'll put like two characters together, and it's like characters who there has been a certain like sexual tension with or something going on, and it'll just play that up to the hilt. Whereas I think it's a credit to this episode and this show that they could have done that in this episode, because they do have all the elements there to do it, but they decided, no, the mission is important, and we're going to give these characters moments through this mission. The chapel stuff and the spot, like that whole stuff being well written and actually serving the plot. I'll say also the Uhura stuff, because you do get a bit of a vibe between her and Ortega's brother, but what they do quite nicely is that at one point they all get separated, like this place separates them, and it turns out they're in like different dimensions. Roger and Spock are together, so that's convenient because they have tension. What's quite nice is that when Uhura is separated with Ortega's brother and things have hit the fan, she's actually the one to calm him down. She's the one to relax him and says, don't worry, we're going to get through this. And they all kind of have their parts to play in it. So because they've got the camera, then they can use the camera to research things. And like one of the things the camera reveals is that they appear to all be in the same place, even though they're clearly not. And that's later on when they figure out they're in different dimensions, essentially. So it's all to do with a time futuristic type thing. But I actually just like that. Then Uhura is naturally there and has a cool head and relaxes Ortega's brother, and they don't really play into like any sort of romance or like dramas between that. I like about the episode, and it's maybe why like a full-blown comedy episode like last week's didn't quite work for me. And some of it was just the humour, then it wasn't really hitting. But in this episode, it's a mostly serious episode and there is like a focus to it. But then they do work in moments of comedy, and I think they do that very nicely. And a good example is with the Carol Kane character, because she actually has a couple of serious speeches, because when they're trying to figure out what this thing is down on the planet, and she of course has lived so many years and seen so much, and she says this thing is older than anything I've even seen, and she has the line about it gives me the heebie-jeebies, and that's obviously a bit of a lighter sort of tongue-in-cheek line, but she does sell it in a moment that's quite serious. And then if you cut to the end of the episode, where the whole thing has been resolved, she does this grand speech about like evil and how like there is pure evil in the world, and if this thing is released and gets out there again, then it could be bad, it could be dire. then she sort of cuts back to Ortega's brother, and it's like, care to get that on film? And that's sort of a running gag, because earlier in the episode he says, I'm going to be filming all this. Ortega's, or it's not Ortega's, but the Carol Kane character has invited him into the engineering room. It's, hey, if you want to film in there, I'm used to the camera, I'm very camera friendly. So that's a little bit of a running gag in the episode. But that's a good example where I think just those lighter touches where they just work in moments of humour is very well done. And this episode does a nice job of like smaller characters having like individual standout moments. So that's a good example with her character. Once you get into the meat of this tomb that they're in, and the look of it and exactly what it is, it's visually really impressive once again, and it looks very futuristic and cube-like, and you've got all these laser beams at one point. They can't get the doors open because earlier in the episode, Chapel, when Roger is almost just gonna like physically barge in, she's like, hang on, let's try it another way first. And she sticks her hand out and the door reads it and it opens up and she goes in. But then there's a whole thing later on in the episode where all the doors seem to be locked down and they need to find the door that will open. Representative of the planet, Urjar, his name is, he starts freaking out and he runs towards the door and he is killed by some sort of entity, some sort of laser, and they work out then it's like a parasitic thing, like a parasite, but the goal is for them to achieve like everlasting life. And they read certain things like scrolls. They see Spock comes across this thing which contains one of the parasites which killed Urjar earlier in the episode. And the other big thing which happens is then Gambon gets injured in the eyes by one of these things. So they find these dead bodies which are of people or things that have been doing what they've been doing, like hunting for things in this place. And some substance shoots out of one and goes into Gambon's eyes. So they quickly have to beam him up so that Mbenga can treat him. And it turns out that he is blinded, at least temporarily, but he seems to be okay in terms of he's not going to die. As things go on, Mbenga sees then he's not regenerating, so his eyesight's not recovering and he's not recovering. It becomes clear then something has taken over him, some sort of being, and at one point he brings up Mbenga's daughter and starts talking about her, and Mbenga knows something's up because Gambon has never been told about his daughter, and he obviously came on board after the whole thing with her in season 1. Quite nasty stuff, really, quite, where he's saying things like, is she really your daughter? Was she really your daughter? And poking sort of fun at it. And you see like Gambon wrestling with this thing. He's been taken over. This big set piece where he's trying to get away and trying to fight. And then Marie comes in, and what we see with her in the episode is that we're getting to the point where some of the Gorn DNA is starting to infect her and making her like aggressive and not herself, because she gets in a fight with Gambon, but it's clearly the Gorn side of her that's starting to take control, and it's a big sort of wild fight, and she ends up collapsing, and I think it's certain moments like that then there was a danger of too much going on in the episode, but I think they get the right balance in the end, and I quite like the way they're keeping the Marie stuff bubbling along quite nicely, and how they made it so that it makes sense for this episode, and you just see that she's slowly being taken over without maybe it becoming such a massive thing that it distracts from the main gimmick of the episode. Gambon, or the thing that's taken him over, that they escape, and then he holds up a bunch of the crew, including Carol Kane's character, at laser point, and Mbenga comes along, and once again this speaks to Mbenga's character, then he's willing to sacrifice himself. Just as Gambon is about to shoot him, Scotty has a laser beam and shoots him, but it's a laser which basically shoots this thing out of his body and into space, but it still kills Gambon, because essentially they figure out later on that he was long gone, like the host had completely taken over and there was pretty much nothing left of the human side. Probably predictable, but in a good way, because when they highlighted his relationship with Joseph earlier in the episode, and they highlighted that he was excited for his first away mission, I predicted then that at the very least he was going to be put in danger, if not killed. But it was predictable in a good way, and it worked for Joseph as a character, and he has regrets. He says to Pike at one point, then, you know, it is my fault. I got close to him because all the months without Christine, and it was too soon for him to go down. Never should have let him go down on his first mission. He wasn't ready. So all that stuff works very well, and it ups the stakes. Again, it's more good character stuff for Joseph, and Gambon at least goes out in quite an heroic way, or in something that means something. And once again, the episode isn't afraid to go dark at certain points, and that's like a good example. I really enjoyed the episode because the gimmick of the episode worked very well, and there was stakes to it, and I kind of liked the way the team all worked together in the end when it came to solving this puzzle, and the temple looked very, very good as well. And you get individual character moments. I think the character stuff is very good in this episode. So, yeah, I think after some early concerns, like, it really worked out well. And like I said earlier, probably my second favourite after the opening episode of the season so far. So it's good that after a little bit of a duff episode last week, in my opinion anyway, then this came back really strong. So that's Star Trek Strange New Worlds for the week. Let me know what you guys think of this one in the comments below. Like and subscribe as always. You can share me out on social media. You can also support the channel monetarily at patreon.com/boardnow, or become a channel member, 3 different tiers for that. And just other TV which I review, other current TV, if you're interested in that stuff, then I am doing the new Dexter show, Dexter Resurrection. So if you have an interest in that show and you've been watching, then check out my reviews of that. And something coming up is the new Alien show, Alien After Earth, or Alien Earth I should say, which is from the guy who did Fargo, the Fargo TV series. So that has some potential in it, and that is starting in the next week, and I will be covering that on the channel, so look out for reviews of that coming up. But keep watching TV, keep watching Star Trek, and I'll see you guys again soon. Goodbye.
Someone once said space is dark and cold. Our job is to bring light, bring warmth, bring life to wherever we go. Is this a hit it situation?
It's whatever kind of adventure we want it to be.
crew is a team, the finest Starfleet has to offer.
Indeed.
It's possible they don't know about us.
They know about us.
There is evil in this universe as sure as there is good.
The choices you make in that chair, they are yours to make and yours to live with.
We await your orders, sir.
You don't trust me with your best friend?
You don't trust me with your baby brother. It's madness.
We have to stop this invasion. Prepare all weapons.
Get to the ship! We are going to find our way out of this together.
It's 1 in 1,000 we get it done right or don't blow ourselves up along the way. I like those odds. We'll just turn it off before we blow up.
Give me 5. Now, down low.
Why would you do that?
Because you are too slow.
How's that girl?
She's ready.
We have a downed spacecraft.
What the hell is this?
I don't know.
This ship finds something on a faraway moon. Monsters.
Are there gonna be dead bodies?
Don't think about that.
I want what's on that ship.
Feels good, doesn't it? Being more than human. But there's a price. Do you know what it is?
We don't lock them down. It will be too late.
Something's here.
It's getting close. Save yourself.